Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Welcome, welcome. I am Godless Reggie. This is NJ, and this is Faith, Lies, and Confusion. How are you today, NJ?
I am fabulous. I am fabulous. I am fabulous. Just looking forward to some more faith and some more lies.
Same here, same here. Good to hear that too. So, today's show is called Sunni versus Shia. So, this is an interesting topic, right? Growing up, I wasn't always the most knowledgeable about Islam. Their religion or anything like that. My first actual introduction to the religion was the Nation of Islam, which is not really considered Muslims by a lot of other sects. I'm now knowing that now. Didn't always know that either. But growing up again, I wasn't very knowledgeable about it. Lately, as I've been learning more about religions and things like that, I've come to find out that there's two main sects of Islam, right? And they have two distinct different beliefs, right? A lot of time when I would have debates because I host live debates on Facebook and I mean, excuse me, not on Facebook, but on TikTok. And a lot of times when I'm on other people's platforms, I do the same exact thing. I tend to ask them particular questions. One of the questions I like to talk to them about is Aisha or Aisha, however you pronounce it. Sometimes when I talk to particular Muslims, some of them don't believe the ages and things like that. Some of them will try to, make the claim that she was an adult. She was 18, 17, 19, 26. I've heard a bunch of random different ages. One thing that I hear consistently when I'm talking to a particular group of Muslims is there's no way of proving it one way or the other. What that is based on, what their argument is based on, is their belief or disbelief in particular hadiths. It's cherry picking at its core because how can you say that you don't believe the hadith that is out of Aisha's mouth versus something that contradicts what she says, right? I don't feel like that's right or fair or coming to any form of truth. But now that
How
like I said,
could
I'm
any mere woman write her own story without lying?
exactly. I think that she would know how old she is. I think that she would know what the fuck happened. I don't believe none of this shit. That's just me. But it's mighty funny if you ask me that they just don't believe that story, right?
Certainly, a woman giving birth at the age of 13 must be mistaken. There is no way that she would do that. Of course, she would have the ability to say no. Wait until I'm 18.
Right, in the case of Virgin Mary, absolutely, because that's another debated argument. People tend to say, "Oh, well, you don't know how old she was," but the book, and when we're talking about the Bible, clearly describes her as a young girl. I've had debates with people that say that a young girl alludes to a young adult. No, the fuck it doesn't. Young means one thing, and girl means a different thing, right? But girl is a child, and young means a young child. So I don't see how that correlates with an adult. That's a separate story, but that is a perfect analogy to what they're basically saying because they're doing that, and they're just saying, "Oh, well, you don't really know, but okay, so how come you believe this part of the book, but you don't believe that. That makes no sense.
You know, like you said, girl has a meaning. Girl has a meaning. So I don't really care who uses it. Once I've decided to correct you, just take the correction and let's just move on.
Girl in no way means adult. In no way. It means a fucking child. And when you put young child in front of that, it really doesn't mean an adult. So I really don't understand how
Did,
that's
did,
what you call the word
didn't we have,
intellectually honest. It's not.
right, right. Didn't we have some lady in the sound bites one day breaking down because somebody said child?
Listen, I hear so many weak arguments that after a while they all get blurred
Right,
together.
right. Exactly, exactly, exactly. But yeah, there was some sound bite somewhere about some politician somewhere getting mad because somebody was just like, child, let me tell you. And she's like, I'm not a child. I'm like, okay. I don't think she was really saying that, but
Right, right.
I
So
okay.
I think with that, um, when we speak in terms of like normal everyday uh language, that's different, right? Because I can personally refer to a woman as a girl. I mean, it's grammatically incorrect, but what I'm saying is a female, right? But in the context in which the Bible is saying it, there's no way. There's no way, especially when it's telling you don't interpret it. All right, you got to read it literal. And again, once you put that young in front of that word, mm-mm.
You
There's
know,
no adult woman that I'm gonna call a young girl.
but
You know,
that's what they like doing here. They like making every word have a double entendre, and it's really not that hard. It's not. It's not. It just go with the original meaning of the word before you try to turn it into something else.
right? That's no different than when I tell people, I'm like, okay, they be like, well, this part is a metaphor, and this part is literal. Are we talking about MC Jesus here? DJ Jesus, Grandmaster Jesus. What the fuck are we talking about here?
It's like last night when I told somebody, put something in my box. They didn't want to be nowhere near my box, but their square on the Hollywood Squares was right next to mine. I didn't understand.
Right, right. So let's get on the topic about Sunni versus Shia, right? So I'm gonna read a little bit. Also, again, like I said from the beginning, I'm not that knowledgeable on Islam. I'm never gonna. Well, I may make the claim later in life, but at this point in my life, I can't really make the claim that I'm super knowledgeable about it. So I'm gonna do a little bit of reading about it and actually let people who are inside give their personal accounts because in this situation, I think, well, I know that they can tell it better than I can, right? How am I going to tell a person what their religion is? So I'm gonna read a little bit about the beginning of this situation between Sunni and Shia and the differences, and of course, because it's called Sunni versus Shia, well, versus, we'll see what the controversy between the two of them is. Give me one second. Okay, so the Sunni and Shia are the two main branches of Islam, and the division between them dates back to a dispute over the should over who should succeed the Prophet Muhammad as the leader of the Muslim community after his death in 632 CE. Sunni Muslims believe that the leader or caliph should be chosen by consensus from the community. They recognize the first four caliphs as the rightful successors of Muhammad, considering them to have been the closest companions of the Prophet. Sunni Islam is the larger of the two branches, with the majority of Muslims worldwide identifying as Sunni. Shia Muslims believe that the leadership should stay within the Prophet Muhammad's family, specifically with Ali, the Prophet's cousin and son in law. They consider Ali and his descendants as the rightful leaders or imams who are divinely appointed. For Shia Muslims, the imam has both spiritual and political authority. This initial disagreement over leadership led to differing religious practices, theology, and cultural traditions over time. Despite these differences, both Sunni and Shia Muslims share many fundamental beliefs and practices, such as the belief in one God, Allah, the importance of the Quran, and the five pillars of Islam. The differences the differences have also led to political and social tensions in some parts of the Muslim world, though many communities live together peacefully today. Okay, so I guess that's somewhat interesting. I kind of knew some of that. I didn't know about the about the family. I didn't know that that was his nephew, and I didn't know it was his cousin as well. I thought it was more about, did somebody follow after Aisha or not. So, 1 second here. I'll play a video. This is going to be from a woman. Her name is, or she'll say her name. I don't want to stumble through it.
In the 7th century, a new faith was unveiled to the people of Mecca, a new religion based on allegiance to one God. They called it Islam, or submission to God. Its message was to reject polytheism and idolatry. The messenger was Prophet Muhammad. His followers spread the word across the Arabian Peninsula. They built a large community. They united in belief and practices. But after the Prophet left, his followers split. That bitter divide still remains. What was it about? Prophet Muhammad's successor. He did not leave behind an heir. He did not say who should lead the Islamic faith after him. So his followers fought, and two prominent camps emerged. One said the Prophet's bloodline should succeed him, a member of his own family should be the new leader or caliph. The other camp said that the Islamic community should choose a pious successor. And this debate was never resolved. And Islam split into two groups, the Shias and the Sunnis, united in their religion, divided in their views, also in their doctrine, rituals, law, and theology. Despite these differences, Shias and Sunnis lived in relative peace through most of their history. The distinctions were largely irrelevant. But starting the late 20th century, the schism deepened. It exploded into violence and bloodshed. Extreme brands of both sects began fighting for supremacy, both religious and political. Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. On the 8th of October, Afghanistan witnessed a suicide bombing. A Shia mosque in the city of Kunduz was attacked. 100 worshippers were killed and injured. Who was behind it? The Islamic State of Khorasan Province, ISKP, a terror outfit that endorses an extreme form of Sunni Islam. On the 15th of October, another Shia mosque was targeted. This time in Kandahar, dozens were killed, hundreds were injured. It was absolute carnage. These attacks have sparked fears of sectarian violence, of the resurgence of an old conflict driven by an ancient religious divide.
So, in my opinion, that's another likeness that Islam has to Christianity. It's no different than the Protestants fighting against the Catholics. Another reason why I wanted to stop that video and interrupt it for a little bit is because I had an episode maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I feel like because I was playing a video a little bit too long, that it ended up getting taken down for copyright. So I want to give it a little break for a second and maybe speed it up. But how you
Gotcha.
feel about that, NJ?
I'm still wondering, like, okay, but the split and divide has been in the religion for a very long time. And she said that just one day out of the clear blue sky, somebody says, you know what? We're gonna blow up a building today. Who gave them that idea? Who explained explosives to them? Who did who who helped it escalate?
I'm not sure, but whenever I look at
Oh,
religious,
I'll ask Chat GPT. I'm sure that they have a nice way of wording it so that it won't stress my mind out too terribly.
but the more I look into religion and I correlate it with gangs, right? And this is another similarity to me, right? Okay, so we look at Islam a lot. Well, I ain't gonna say we, not we. Some people look at Islam in a whole as like a terrorist organization, right? But if you really look at the core of the situation, they're terrorizing themselves more than any goddamn thing, right? It's no different than when we look at gangs. I seen a video of Charleston White. I don't agree with most of what he says, but a broken clock is right at least twice a day. So sometimes he has points, right? He says something about the black gangs in LA. They ride around specifically targeting other black people, assuming that they're gang members, right? And they will really do things to these people, right? But they won't do it to nobody else. Now, I'm not advocating for racial wars. I'm not advocating that you run around the city of Los Angeles targeting Mexicans or Asians or anyone else. But my
Why you
question,
gotta do that? There's a 1-800 number. One
no,
eight
but
hundred. Turn them in. $1,000. There you go.
right. But a lot of them been there so long that they're United States citizens. But my thing is this: why are you specifically targeting your own people? Now, if you go through a Mexican neighborhood, right, they're not gonna give you the pass. They're not gonna give you the pass. They're gonna assume that you a gangbanger and they're gonna fuck you up, right? So why are you running around the city of Los Angeles specifically targeting black people? This sounds like the same exact story. Why are you sitting there bombing these people that you know are Muslims that believe the same exact shit as you, right? But you have a whole other situation going on where the Israelis don't give a fuck which sect you from, right? And other countries don't give a fuck what you believe. All they know is they at war with you and they not giving you a pass for shit. They gonna fuck you up on sight. So
On
I
site.
get it.
On site.
I just don't get.
On site.
What's up, Queen? But yeah, I'm gonna let it play the video a little bit more. I'm gonna speed it up. 1 second.
Sunni divide has fueled a civil war in Syria, spurred violence that fractured Iraq, and widened fissures in a number of Islamic countries, Bahrain, Lebanon, and Yemen, to name a few. So it's important that we understand what this divide is, how much of it is about religion, and how much of it is driven by politics.
Don't overthink it. A large one-topping pizza is only $9.99 at Papa John's. 3 different crusts.
We'll start with history. 632 AD, Prophet Muhammad's passing. It split the Islamic community. They fought over his successor. One group wanted to elect the Prophet's companion, Abu Bakr, as the first caliph or the leader of the Islamic community. The other group favored Ali ibn Abi Talib, the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law. Now, those in favor of Abu Bakr call themselves Sunnis, followers of the Sunnah. They derive their name from the phrase Ahl al-Sunnah, meaning people of the tradition. Tradition in this case referred to practices based on what the Prophet said, did, condoned, or condemned. The Sunnis are a group of prominent early followers of Islam. They wanted a leader to be elected from the community, not the family. They believed in consensus, not lineage or dynasty. The Shias, on the other hand, believed that succession should be based on the bloodline. So they favored the Prophet's son-in-law, Ali, to be the first caliph. They formed a movement known as Shiat Ali, meaning the party of Ali or the partisans of Ali. They believed that Ali and his descendants were part of a divine order and only they could guide Islam and the Muslim community righteously. But the Shias were in relative minorities, so the Sunni majority won. They chose Abu Bakr as the first caliph, Umar ibn al-Khattab as the second caliph, and Uthman ibn Affan as the third caliph. All three of them were trusted companions of the Prophet. So far, the Sunnis triumphed politically, but the Shias continued to consider the Prophet's descendants as the true caliphs. They kept pushing for them. Eventually, Ali was elected the fourth caliph. He was the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law. But his rule was short-lived. Ali was assassinated by his enemies. Ali's sons, Hassan and Hussein, wanted to take his place, but they were denied the right of accession. This led to a power struggle. At stake was not just the Prophet's legacy, but the entire caliphate, which now stretched beyond the Arabian Peninsula. There was also a lot of money involved in the form of taxes and tributes paid by various tribes under the banner of Islam. Now, this combination of money and power led to a civil war. The result of the war was this. The caliphate was passed to the Umayyad dynasty in Damascus. Then it went to the Abbasid dynasty based in Baghdad. The Shias rejected the authority of both these Sunni rulers. They kept fighting. In 681 AD, when the Umayyads were in power, Ali's son Hussein led a group of 72 followers from Mecca to Karbala, which is now in Iraq. He went there to confront the corrupt Caliph Yazid, but he was killed by a massive army of the Umayyads. He was decapitated and brought to Damascus as a tribute to the Caliph. The Sunnis thought this would end all claims of leadership by the Shias, but their actions had the opposite effect. Hussein's martyrdom became a watershed moment for the Shias, a defining moral story of their tradition, a hallmark of their identity and existence. Today, it is commemorated each year as Ashura, the 10th day of Muharram, and the most solemn date in the Shia calendar. They mark it with collective atonement and self-flagellation. The Battle of Karbala had a lasting impact. It sharpened the divisions between Shias and Sunnis. The Sunni caliphs worried that the Shias would use it to capture public imagination and topple monarchs. So they persecuted and marginalized the Shias further, portrayed them as heretics and apostates. Then in the 16th century came the first major Shia dynasty, the Safavid dynasty, transformed Iran from a Sunni center to a Shia stronghold in West Asia. It made Shia Islam the state religion and fought with the Ottomans, the seat of the Sunni caliphate. From this power struggle emerged a series of Shia and Sunni dynasties. They spread all over the world, from Europe to the Indian subcontinent, from Central Asia to Africa. With the onset of European colonialism, these dynasties faded, but the Shia-Sunni differences did not.
Okay. I think that's interesting that she pointed that out. I'm going to go back to exactly what she just said, that last part.
From this power struggle emerged a series of Shia and Sunni dynasties. They spread all over the world, from Europe to the Indian subcontinent, from Central Asia to Africa. With the onset of European colonialism, these dynasties faded, but the Shia-Sunni differences did not.
Okay. So basically what she was saying, with the absence of the Europeans there, that Islam basically took over, right? And that pretty much correlates with history. So when people say certain things like, oh, well, Islam and Christianity been in Africa forever. No, 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 no. No. They are imports like a mother. Period. And I don't know why people believe these stories that look like me and you. It clearly comes from some place that we're not. I'm not going to deny that, okay, maybe this place isn't thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away. No, but it's still not the crib. It's somewhere else.
And what I heard was they were warring with the Ottoman Empire. So what I heard was the reason they had to fracture and move so much is the Ottomans believed in down to the root. So if there was a male child that could take any kind of leadership or role, the Ottoman Empire believed in assassins in the cradle. They did not mind assassinating from the cradle.
This is strange. This is strange. I'm gonna let her talk some more. It's almost done.
Empires took the shape of countries. Their legacies resulted in demographic segmentation. Most Shia Muslims settled in Iran, Iraq, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Lebanon, with small communities in India and Pakistan. Today, they comprise 10% of the global Muslim population. The remaining 90% are Sunni Muslims. They're settled in West Asia, in Central Asia, South Asia, Africa. Sunni Muslims form an overwhelming majority in more than 40 countries. For much of their modern history, the Shia-Sunni divide was largely irrelevant in these countries. The differences were limited to their beliefs and practices. Like when they pray, Shias stand with their hands at their sides. Sunnis put their hands on their stomachs. Sunni clerics wear white robes. Shia clerics wear black robes. Shias often venerate clerics as saints. Sunnis do not. Shias believe in self-flagellation. Sunnis do not. Rarely did these differences spill into conflicts. Shias and Sunnis lived in mixed neighborhoods. They also frequently intermarried. But in the last few decades, the divide has deepened, especially after 1979, when an Islamic revolution took place in Iran, and a new brand of Shia Islam emerged. It clashed with the Sunni conservatives of Saudi Arabia. Both theocracies began fighting for religious and political control. Sunnis and Shias inadvertently got sucked into this power struggle. But interestingly, the Saudis and the Iranians have never really declared war on each other. Instead, they fight indirectly. They fight proxy wars. They support opposing sides in other conflicts. We've seen this during the war in Iraq, the civil war in Syria, the civil war in Yemen, the uprising in Bahrain, the political unrest in Lebanon. All of this is said to be a result of the rivalry between Saudi Arabia and Iran, a Sunni and a Shia power, both amping up sectarianism to serve their interests. What does this tell you? That the Shia-Sunni divide today is as much about religion as it is about politics. Yes, it may have stemmed from a 7th century religious dispute, but that dispute is not primarily driven by faith. It's driven by a desire for power, resources, and control.
It be your own people every time over a
Every
story that may not
time.
even have ever even happened. Um,
Right, right,
some of
right.
this
But
stuff about
somebody said it happened. Somebody said it happened. We gonna believe them. We don't need no proof, no documentation. And if a woman said it or a woman wrote it, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
exactly the one thing I will give Islam some credit for. A lot of situations, the people that they actually mention were real people. That or they have some. I'm not gonna say they're real people. They have some evidence to support that these people may have existed. That's the proper term, right? That doesn't prove any supernatural powers of these people. It just means that it has some form or some basis, right, to an actual person and what they said. Um, I kept highlighting the fact that you posted on there that they're their own grandpa, and they are. How's somebody gonna be your cousin and your son-in-law?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
That's weird. And then I wonder, like, how what kind of cousin was he of yours, right? Did were both of your parents brothers and sisters, or were just one of your
Yep.
parents brothers and sisters? Because if both of your parents were brothers and sisters,
They
and
had
then
one grandpa in common.
mm-hmm,
That
mm-hmm,
he had a harem, and every time slaves came through the harem, sometimes one of them got lucky and got pregnant. So he would keep that one, and she
mm-hmm.
would become important because she gave birth to something after being in his harem. And well, the rest is history. I'm gonna be quiet because we all know what happened with the rest.
Right. And then, like, if that person was to have a child with your child, I don't see how that would work out good for the possible child. I think that child may have the possibility of being either, you know, uh, mentally retarded or being sterile. So if that's the case, I don't see how these people, anybody after their lineage, really lived. And that's the part that I question out of all of it. And also, with the part about you saying about there being slaves and shit like that, why do y'all always want to pick your own people so much? There's other females around. I don't get that.
You asking the wrong one.
I don't get that, right? I mean, I guess
Because
they're trying to
if you're
keep the
going to
blood
tell me to
pure.
fill my house with my choice, I'm not going to pick family. I'm not going to pick family.
Mm-mm. I'm gonna be trying to get cousin, like, hey, cousin, you might as well just start your own dynasty over here. Look, I'm gonna give you your own
Right,
town,
right,
right?
right,
Your own kingdom. You can name them
right.
whatever you want to call them, right? We ain't even gonna come over there because I don't want my grandkids messing with yours. You know what I'm saying?
You would think, you would think, you would think, you would think, you would think,
I
you
don't
would
get it.
think. I mean, like, even in the United States, you used to, no matter where, except for the state of Maryland, have to get a blood test in order to get married. They had to make sure that you were not related because you couldn't really tell by family ties over here. You couldn't tell. You had to prove it with a blood test, except for in the state of Maryland. So one day I went down the rabbit hole of why not in the state of Maryland? Well, turns out they was all related. They was fresh off the farm, fresh off the farm. They was all
Hmm.
related. So they were like, if we do that over here, ain't nobody gonna get married, and they ain't gonna be able to stay here in the state because they're gonna have to go somewhere else to find spouses. So they was just like, we just gonna take that out for them. We just gonna play the guessing game. You get what you get.
Yeah,
And then,
Maryland does have the highest concentration of black people in it too.
oh, you don't say? Is that where that is?
Hmm.
Like I said, fresh off the farm. But anyway, um, and then the other states saw where it was getting messy and muddled over there too. So they were like, well, it's been working in Maryland, so we might as well all do it. And one day they just stopped. They just stopped. Don't know
Listen,
why.
listen. On one hand, that does kind of sound strange, but because my family is from the Eastern Shore, that's how I know what I just said. Um, I can understand why. And now that I'm starting to learn more and more and more about history, it's Eastern Shore, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware.
Ooh.
It's always that. It's all that correlates with black people in the United States so fucking often that you're right. I mean, it's really useless to have that there. It's pointless. So,
Absolutely pointless. Don't understand it. But they holding on to it for dear life.
right. So I'm gonna do a little bit of reading here. Let's see on Sunni or Shia Sunni relations. Some of this is gonna be some of the stuff that she touched over. Okay, so after the death of Muhammad in 632, the Muslim world split into two camps: the Sunnis, who believed that the caliphs of the Islamic community should be chosen by a council, which I read over earlier, and the second group, the Shias, who believed that Muhammad had his successor be Ali ibn Abi Talib, who I said earlier was his cousin and his son-in-law. Today there are differences in religious practices and jurisprudence, traditions, and customs between Shia and Sunni Muslims. Although all Muslim groups consider the Quran to be divine, Sunni and Shia have different opinions on Hadith, which I touched on earlier. In recent years, the relations between the Shia and Sunnis have been increasingly marked by conflict. The aftermath of the 1979 Iranian Revolution, which reconfigured Iran into theocratic Islamic republic governed by high-ranking Shia clerics, had far-reaching consequences across the Muslim world. The Iraq War further influenced regional power dynamics, solidifying Shiites as the predominant force in Iraq. Iran's ascent as the regional power in the Middle East, along with shifts in politics and demographics in Lebanon favoring Shia, have heightened Sunni concerns about their Sunni Arab hegemony. I can't pronounce that word. I've never heard of it. Recent years have witnessed the Iran Sunni Saudi Arabia proxy conflict, as well as the sectarian violence from Pakistan to Yemen, which became a major element of friction throughout the Middle East and South Asia. Tensions between communities have intensified during power struggles such as the Shia-led Bahraini uprising, the Iraqi Civil War, the 2013 to 2017 war in Iraq against ISIS, as well as the Sunni-led Syrian Civil War. The self-styled Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS launched a persecution of Shia. While the exact numbers are subject to debate, the Shia comprise about 10 to 13% of the world's Muslims, and Sunnis 87 to 90%. Sunnis are a majority in most Muslim communities around the world. Shia make up the majority of the citizens population in Iran, Iraq, Bahrain, and Azerbaijan, as well as being a minority in Pakistan, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Yemen, Nigeria, Afghanistan, India, Chad, Turkey, and Kuwait. One second. The major differences: the Mahdi is the prophesied redeemer of Islam, while Shia and Sunnis differ on the nature of the Mahdi. Many members of both groups believe that the Mahdi will appear in the end of the world to bring about a perfect and just Islamic society. In Shia Islam, the Mahdi symbol has developed into powerful and central religious ideas. Twelvers believe that the Mahdi will be the Muhammad al-Mahdi, the 12th Imam, returned from the occultation, where he has been hidden by Allah since 874. Mainstream Sunnis beliefs are somewhat different. The Mahdi forms an important component of Sunni eschatology, his appearance being considered the last of the major signs of the Day of Judgment before its major signs. They believe the Mahdi will be a descendant of Muhammad named Muhammad and will revive the faith. The Hadith. The Shia accept some of the same hadith of Muhammad used by Sunnis as part of the Sunnah and the basis of divine law and religious practice. In addition, they consider the sayings of Al al-Bayt that are not attributed directly to Muhammad as hadiths. Shia do not accept many Sunni hadiths unless they are also recorded in Shia sources or the methodology of how they were recorded can be proven. Some Sunni accept hadiths, for example, by Aisha or Abu excuse me, Hurai are less favored by Shia. Aisha's opposed Ali, and Abu Hurai is considered an enemy of Ali, and according to Shia, only a Muslim for 4 years of his life before Muhammad's death. Although he accompanied Muhammad for only 4 years, he managed to record 10 times as many hadiths as Abu Barak and Ali each. Okay, so that goes back to what I was saying earlier. I knew that it had something to do with the Aisha hadith. I didn't know the exact part about it because I knew that from the debates that I normally have when I talk to people of that faith. They're like, oh, well, we don't accept that hadith, blah, 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 blah. Um, Especially if they know that I don't actually speak the language that the Quran was originally written in. So what I usually do is get somebody that actually speaks and understands the language. Then all of a sudden they backtrack and say that they believe that hadith once they ask them, do they believe it or not, which is strange to me.
Mm. Not strange to me at all. Not strange to me at all. I don't know why we have that fascination with each other, but I think we used to call it the dozens, just like, can you get a reaction? I'm finding that most people have conversation just to be just disingenuous at this point.
Hmm. I think so too, because they know, like I said, they know that you don't understand the language, so they know that you don't know that they're supposed to accept all of them. And once you hit a certain point with them, if you understand it, then they're cornered. They know this shit doesn't make any sense,
Right.
and they know that
Like,
part about her is wrong.
yeah, beyond wrong. They,
Mm,
they they just mad that somebody actually wrote it down, which brings me to the part about the person who got the job because he wrote more down than the other person. Isn't that like getting an A on your homework assignment?
I just don't get how they believe the shit when they know, no matter if you believe Sunni or Shia, I don't understand how anybody believes this shit when they know for a fact that Muhammad was illiterate. I don't get that part.
Yeah, he was illiterate, but he just pulled great ideas out of thin blue air, and somebody wrote them down for him. They were really good ideas. He pulled them out of the air, so it must have been Sky Daddy talking to him. And they were really good ideas, and everybody wanted to share it. And there was a scribe sitting right there, and he said, "Scribe," and they said, "Huh? Write these words." And they said, "Okay." He started talking to himself. Somebody was writing it down. And here we are in 2024, 25, whichever Gregorian calendar you believe, talking about it still to this day because of just disingenuous human beings.
Because of a damn
Whew!
liar that liked to go to the cave and do whatever he was doing in that cave and come out and telling
What?
stories over a 20, 30-year process. That's why it
What?
makes no sense.
What? But I bet you were people who felt really special if they got to go into the cave with him. I feel special. I
I
went in
would
the
too.
cave with him while
I
he
would.
talked to himself.
I would too, because he probably had the good stuff in there.
What? 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 All smoky. Smoky, smoky. What? What? You know how long it's been since I've hotboxed in the car? I missed that.
I don't know. You know what? I feel like I'd have missed out. I never smoked in a cave. Never got high in a cave. I guess it ain't too late, but I don't know if I want to though. Might come out like
No.
Muhammad telling these bullshit stories and
Oh,
marrying
you will.
6-year-olds. You
Oh,
never
you
know.
will. No, no, no. Now that's a bit too far. I ain't seen nobody get that toasted in the cave yet. I better not, because they're not gonna get far. And I don't like jail. But that's another story for another day. My point is this: that a good cave session is awesome. It's amazing. And they gonna talk a much of shit. There's going to be a much of shit spoken. But the point is, talk your shit, leave that.
I'm about to play a video that breaks down the conflict that they're having today. 1 second.
The news and see reporters talking about the conflicts that are playing out across the Middle East. We hear a lot about fighting between the Sunnis and the Shiites, the two main sects of Islam. But many of us have no idea what the difference between the two groups is and why there is so much friction between them. So let's take a look at some of the history and the geopolitics to get a sense of what is really going on. There are 1.6 billion Muslims across the world. Roughly 85% of them are Sunnis. The division began after the death of the Prophet Muhammad some 1400 years ago as a disagreement about who should succeed him. The Sunnis felt that Abu Bakr, a close friend of the Prophet's, ought to be the next Muslim leader. But the Shiites claimed that Muhammad had anointed his son-in-law Ali as rightful successor. The Sunnis won out, but a split was born, and that rift was cemented when Ali's son was later killed by the ruling Sunni troops, an event which the Shiites commemorate every year. Fast forward more than 1,000 years, and the situation is worse than ever. According to a poll by Pew Research, some 40% of Sunnis don't even regard Shiites as real Muslims. But there's more than theology at work here. Perhaps even more important is geography. 100 years ago, around the time of the First World War, the Middle East was carved up in a Franco-British pact called the Sykes-Picot Agreement. But the Europeans had little interest in understanding the religious and ethnic intricacies of the Middle East when they divided up the region. Still, these arbitrary borders became the blueprint for today's map. The Shiites were divided primarily among Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon, with an offshoot of Shia Islam, the Alawites, in Syria. This area has come to be known as the Shia Crescent. Sunni Muslims make up the bulk of the population of other countries in the region, with pockets of Shiites scattered among them. As you might expect, problems arise in countries where both sects are vying for power or one group feels oppressed. In Syria, for example, a Sunni majority has been ruled for the last 45 years by an Alawite minority. In Iraq, a Sunni minority ruled over the Shiite majority for decades. After the U.S. invasion, Saddam Hussein, a Sunni, was overthrown and a Shiite government took over. That government proceeded to marginalize the Sunnis, and now some of those disenfranchised Sunnis have gone on to form the so-called Islamic State, or ISIS. Now let's do a quick who's who in the Middle East. As you just heard, ISIS, along with Al-Qaeda, are Sunni groups. Hezbollah is Shiite. Osama bin Laden was a Sunni. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is an Alawite, remember that's a Shiite sect, and the Iranian mullahs are Shiites as well, which helps explain why Iran has gotten involved in the conflict in Syria. And where does America stand in all this? Traditionally, the U.S.'s strongest allies in the region have been Sunni powers, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Jordan. But now the U.S. is pursuing a nuclear deal with Shiite Iran and is working alongside Shiites in Iraq to try to destroy ISIS. But at the same time, Washington still supports Saudi Arabia, which is currently bombing Iranian-backed Shiite rebels in Yemen. Confused yet? One satirist summarized the tangled web of conflicting relationships with this map. So what can we conclude? At the end of the day, it's important to remember that the majority of ordinary Sunnis and Shiites do not hate each other, and both groups share the same core tenets of Islam. In a sense, it's similar to the differences between, say, the Catholics and the Protestants, and the fighting and the bloodshed that we're seeing across the region are less about religion than they are about power.
I think it's more about everybody else's influence. One thing that sticks out to me about that whole clip is how the first thing that they broke down, how they had the French flag and then they had the British flag. Why the fuck don't you just mind your business and leave these fucking people alone? By your own admission, you are condoning, orchestrating, officiating, and regulating a war. You're making them fight against each other just so you can jack them for their shit. That's the only reason why you over there. You have only have interest in what they have. Leave them the fuck alone. This isn't even your religion. So how the fuck are you sitting there playing puppet master on their God and it don't got nothing to do with you? But that just further brings me back. Even them, why do you believe this shit? It's crazy.
especially if it requires you to take life. And I haven't found one Sky Daddy story yet where the taking of life is condoned. Not one Sky Daddy story.
It's not. Um, I seen a post a while ago, maybe about a year or so ago, and it said that the Romans created Islam as well. Again, I haven't really divulged a lot of my time into Islam and all that to see the correlation yet. I can see where they uh the copycat, the plagiarism, that's the correct word. I do see the plagiarism. That's obvious. But damn, it's just like people that have nothing to do with the story. It's just running you and they just controlling your mind. They just mind fucking you so hard and just making you feel bad and just making you fight each other and just killing you all in the same fucking process. And maybe it's because I'm from the outside looking in, but it's just all madness.
While while the British and the Americans both sell weapons, and while they're fighting with each other due to the British, American, and French influence, the Americans are selling to one side, the British is selling to their side, and the French is sitting back going, "Hey, anybody want to take a vacation to Paris and see the Eiffel Tower? It's romantic. You'll love it."
Well, yeah, the French, they got a lot of their interest. I mean, it showed that their interest is right there, but we know about their interest is in West Africa or whatever, and how they try to create that pipeline. And France has no resources of its own. They don't have any
None,
fucking. They
not
jack
a thing.
everything from places that they have colonized. And like I said, every time I hear about them and things about the Haitians, I'm just so proud of the fucking Haitians. And it's a damn shame that to this day they're still being punished because they're the first one that told the white man, kiss my ass. And if you come here, I'm gonna unalive you. So shout out to them again. They the realest to ever walk on earth, in my opinion. But and it's a sad thing that they're still being punished to this day for defending themselves and fighting back, and that these same people then brainwashed even black people to think that these people are going to hell and they're demonic and they're performing voodoo and they're eating dogs, not even knowing that your blood related to these fucking people. However you look at the situation, and if you need any proof, go to Louisiana and it's so fucking obvious. So
Yep,
obvious.
yep, 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 yep. I remember one of the first trips my mom took was to New Orleans is in Louisiana, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay, all right. And she went to to watch the parade with the beads and everything that they do every year. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
well, until Katrina. But anyway, uh, I remember looking at the pictures and I just had so many questions for her. I was like, "Did you see any vampires? Are you sure they weren't vampires? Did you go down the right streets to find vampires?" She was just fascinated with my insane questions. So she got me a whole series of the Anne Rice books so that if I ever go there, I would know where to look for the vampires. And I said, never mind. After I read those books, I was like, nah, I don't think I want to find vampires. I'm good. I'm good. But it was good reading about them. It was good reading about
Right. I just think about so much of my childhood that was just wasted of being in fear of shit that don't exist now, right?
'em. What?
But I don't know. Maybe because again, my family is from the Eastern Shore and have particular beliefs and shit like that. We had a Ouija board. We used to play with it as a kid. It was my grandma's. I remember she used to go to the root man and shit too. She used to take me. I couldn't go in, but I would be on the trips with her, and she would be in there for hours and hours and hours, giving these damn people her money and shit, thinking that these miracles and shit was gonna happen. Oh my goodness, it's just sad.
But for some reason, whenever anybody dies and they find out about it, there's always that one root worker who's like, "Yeah, that's my work. That's my work right there. I did that."
And if anybody don't know what the root man is that's watching this, it's kind of like he's kind of like a witch doctor. That would probably be the best thing that I could say. He's always a religious person with a Christian type background, but mixed with give me the money because I talk to God personally, and if you do this, this is gonna happen for you. If you get in trouble, come to me type shit. It's a strange situation. I can't really like say it in exact words, but that's the root of it. Give me your money and miracles gonna happen type shit.
There you go. I will I will say the words. I will find the right spirits, have them come talk to you and assure you. There's a rhyme and a reason to everything. There's a rhyme and a reason to everything. I'm like, well, why I gotta pay you if these things exist? Shouldn't I be able to talk to them my damn self? Ain't nobody talking back. I'm safe. Now, if I start hearing somebody talk back, I might become concerned.
Right. And it seemed like always the root man was always somewhere down south. Right. I done went with my grandma to Georgia, South Carolina. Them the two places I remember. Georgia and South Carolina. It was always a
Now,
long
no,
ass fucking trip, and it was always hot as fuck.
Now, the only time I ever remember taking long trips is when it was time to stock up. Like, you needed to make sure that the deep freezer was filled with like things you can't find up north. Like, you got to be Virginia or lower to get.
Right. Right. It's always Virginia or lower, past that Mason Dixie line. Always.
Because, you can't have a good scrapple in the morning in some
Oh, what you know
places.
about some scrap?
I know that bitch gets floured before it gets fried. And it better be crisp, not too thick, definitely not too thin. That's terrible. That's nasty. You're supposed to cut it up into the grits, the salty grits, not the sweet grits. If you're doing the
Right.
sweet grits, we not from the same people
No,
at
no.
all.
You don't put sugar in no fucking grits. Don't put sugar in no, that they don't
If
that,
you
that don't
need
go together.
sugar, there's a cream of wheat and farina. You can go put sugar
Or
in
oatmeal.
that, but
Yeah.
not in, or oatmeal. It's one of
See,
them.
my
But
whole
not in the grits. Not in the grits.
my whole family are scrapple eaters. Fun fact: my family is the only black family from Chincoteague Island, Virginia. My grandmother, well, my great grandmother, her name was Rachel Logan, spelled Logan. She actually has a street named after her because back in the day, when they stayed there, well, back in my day, and before my time, they stayed off of this street called Taylor Road, right? But it was probably like a half mile off of the road. And for 911 purposes, they ended up naming that road where she stayed at Logan Lane after her. Her name was Rachel Logan. So, um,
That's
Scrapple.
a nice little bit of history for the family. That is sweet.
My mom's from there, and my grandma, and my great grandma, and all
Maybe,
my cousins from
maybe
there.
one of the grandchildren will be like, you know what? I'm moving to Logan Lane. I'm going back. We got some house kids. We gonna throw them up on the lane and live on our lane.
Unfortunately, in about 2005 or 2006, my great grandmother she sold her property and moved to the mainland, which is it's in Accomack County, Virginia. It's in either Atlantic or Oak Hall. The borders are so crazy down there. It's kind of hard to tell which city is which. But she ended up selling her property. The last time I went down there, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I actually took a trip to Chincoteague. um, I went down Taylor Road and went down her street. It looks so different from when I was a kid. The grass and shit has grown real high. It doesn't look the same basically, but it was always fun trips going down there as a child. Me and my cousins. My cousins, they're about 5 or 6 years older than me. They're my mom's first cousins though, but they would always take me wherever they went. They would take me to crabbing and shit. All you would need is like a net, a bucket, bait. You can use any fucking thing for bait, right? You can use chicken, anything. Crabs will eat anything, right?
I was the cousin that got left because if something went south or went left. I was the cousin going, this is what happened. I'm
Tattletale.
telling the whole story, even my part. I don't care. Just don't whoop my ass, please and thank
See, it was a little different because my cousins they was girls, but they was tomboys though, right? So they wasn't to the point where you could whoop their ass. By the time they was like 10 or 12, you wasn't. I don't care who you was, you wasn't whooping their ass. They was all state in every fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? So they would take me like wherever they went and shit. And I just have all these memories as a child of going crapping and shit. And it was crazy because, like I said about the bait part, you were bait too. Because them damn mosquitoes would tear your ass up every fucking time. I mean, to be
you.
all on your face and your head, every fucking where.
I'm
I'll
going
never
in the
forget that.
house with the ladies. Do they need a bartender? What I gotta do to stay in the house with the ladies? I want to stay in the house. I don't want to be
Listen,
out there.
these ladies, I'm telling you about, they from the country. They not the same. Listen, they didn't grow up on the farm, right? Listen, they mamas and all that shit. They didn't grow up with tractors and shit. They not like that. They not like that. Them motherfuckers go outside and start cutting some lumber. Listen, this island, right, is loaded with poisonous snakes, right? They got the ones that I can just tell you about right now is the water moccasin and the copperhead, and I think it's the coral. They see it all the time because at night the fucking like these little toads come out. So the frogs, I mean, excuse me, the snakes be hunting them, right? So it's not a rare situation to see fucking snakes, right? None of them will run. None of them will run. They will go find something and fucking kill it. And if a water moccasin bites your ass, you're done. If you ain't like to the hospital like that, some people call it the cotton mouth. If you ain't like within 15, 20, you dead. These
Now,
motherfuckers won't
see,
run.
I need, and that's why I avoid areas like that because I live in my own little bubble. Like I'm an airhead, like headphones 24/7, walk around just la 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 la. I'm gonna get bit. I'm gonna get bit. I'm gonna get bit. I'm gonna get bit. And last time my mama took us home to show us where she grew up, the foundation's still there. The
Mhm.
fireplace is still there, but the rest of the property is completely overgrown. And it was one of those places where it has one road, one way in,
Mhm.
goes all the
Mhm.
way through to the other side, and that's
Mhm.
the only road. That's it. No other road. And filled with lakes. And she just loves talking about all the time that they spent in the lakes. And I used to take my kids to the lake, and I remember lots of Easters and stuff like that at the lake. But yeah, I wasn't dressed that day in my tomboy attire, so I stayed in the house.
Well, when I used to go there down there at first when I was younger, they used to pick with me a little bit because I was from the city. So, I wasn't used to none of this shit like I was just telling you. But after a while, I would go down there so much and so many of my summers was spent down there that shit, I was just one of them after a while. I started seeing like the fun in it, at home, when you're from the city, shit like that they do down there, that's not nothing that you normally do. It's not really something that you look as fun. Now I look back at it, I'm grateful for the times I was down there and the things that they taught me and shit like that, and seeing how they lived and you know being around. Like I tell people, like you don't even know what a fucking cesspool is, right? Like, they were like, what is that? And you tell them, but that's how these people live. You know what I'm saying? So it was an experience, like going down there, seeing how they live, and I'm grateful that I got a chance to experience. Truthfully.
When I went, I didn't know. I promise you, I did not know that outhouses still existed.
Hmm.
And my when I was about 9 years old, my grandma loaded us up in the Buick and said, "We're taking a road trip." Same thing you were saying. When we got to this house, and I was like, "Uh, where's the bathroom?" And they were like, "Over there across the yard."
Hmm.
I did not know that a 9-year old could control their body functions that well entirely, but I did that shit. I'm very proud of myself.
Hmm. Same with my mom's family. Not my mom's mom, who I was just telling you about, but my mom's dad's mom. Her name was Ida Lee Davis, right? At her house, they had a goddamn outhouse too. It was just a big hole, like a almost like a shed, right? It was kind of shaped like kind of a square. It was just a big ass stinking hole. They had a water pump in the backyard where you could pump that shit. Ain't no way I'm drinking that shit, right? They had all kind of shit back there. I'm like, man, this thing is like slavery. I went down there in the wintertime, no insulation in the house,
None.
working fireplace, like you said.
Yep.
So, whew, I don't know. I don't know if I could have lived like that as a child. I don't know.
Well, the beautiful thing about time and technology, we learn. They're nice antidotes to tell stories about, because stories by word of mouth, they do eventually make it to the pages of somebody's book. And hopefully nobody will write the author off because, they wrote it several decades, several centuries after the person first told the story. Or maybe they'll just lie. Who knows?
Exactly. What you got going on the rest of the day, NJ?
Oh, grandson, and a new book. I got a book from the library yesterday, just from the feel. You know how sometimes you just pick something up and it just feels so neat, you don't want to put it down?
Hmm.
That's what happened. That's what happened. So we're going to see if they're very inspirational words. I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it. And grandson got new videos to watch. They're old to us because we've watched these movies already, but they're new to him. So we're having fun teasing him about his reactions to what we think are great movies.
It's NFL Sunday to me. The playoffs is the conference game.
Oh, what you cooking to go with the game? What you cooking? What you cooking? What you cooking?
Well, because I'm a picky eater and don't eat mammal whatsoever, no form of mammal, no beef, no pork, no lamb. My diet is pretty basic and pretty boring. Pretty much every day or every other day of my life, I eat chicken or turkey or seafood or shrimp
Uh huh.
and
Uh huh.
something else with it.
Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh-huh. But which one is going with the playoffs today?
Hmm, I don't know. Maybe shrimp or something. I don't know. Maybe some shrimp, some rice. I don't know. So yeah, my diet is pretty boring. I always will love things, uh, pork and beef products. As I said, I'll keep telling people this all the time. My family is from the Eastern Shore, so that's the shit that they eat. They eat all kind of shit. Muskrat, motherfucker, like you said, scrapple. They eat all kind of shit, right? I just, I mean, it's for health reasons, and I never really liked stuff like that. I'm a picky eater. No, the shellfish, yes, but other
I'm
than that,
I'm I'm a picky eater, but every so often I get nostalgic and I find a way to satisfy the nostalgia. And then I go right back to being a picky eater. And like you said, I can really function off of like salads and tuna and snacks for a very long time. Like, like a long time. Like I could use some protein in my diet. Oh, we'll make a pot of beans, these kind of beans. But every once in a blue moon, I get nostalgic and I'll want red meat. And then I chew like three pieces and I'm like, I'm really done with this now. Where's the dog? Where's the dog? Somebody bring the dog.
are you talking about like Maine Moon dog?
No, I really did mean the dog. Like there's usually a dog around to eat whatever it is. I'd have nibbled on and didn't really want it. Just wanted it for the moment.
Yes, Erica, muskrat is very edible. Squirrel, rabbit,
Yeah.
everything is
Yeah.
everything that they could catch, up to and including roadkill, was
I
edible if it
remember
was warm.
I remember my mother-in-law's husband brought home after one of his, he went down on one of his Virginia runs. He came back with
Mhm.
muskrat, and I was floored. I was just like the person in the comments. Wait a minute, what is that? It's muskrat. What do you do with it? We're gonna cook it and eat it. Who? Who's
Mhm.
gonna cook it and eat it? And I'm like, they didn't took the heads and tails off of it, and they didn't. cleaned it out, but it's sitting in the pot. I can see arms, legs, and I couldn't do it. I
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
do it. They had to trick me to get me to eat cow's tongue, and after they got me to eat it, they was kind of sorry. They was kind of sorry.
Listen, I have been tricked into eating cow tongue, but not by them, not by my family. One of my best friend, his family is Puerto Rican, right? So go over to grandma's house, abuela's house, right? Go over there every Sunday. It's rice and something terrific, right?
Yes,
Man, one Sunday we went over there high as hell, right? Too young to be smoking. 16, 17 years old. Whatever it was on that stove is what the fuck we ate, right? As we sitting there eating, fucking this steak and rice up. She comes in there laughing. His grandma cracking up laughing. Like, what you laughing about, right? And she don't know how to say it in English, but she's telling us like, you know what y'all eating, right? And we like, yeah, it's like rice and steak. She's like, no, 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 no. And she tells us, we like, oh man, and continue to eat it. Some of the best steak I ever had in my life.
right, right, right. I was mad because I had walked in the kitchen and I saw my husband sitting there eating a sandwich, and I was like, that looks good. Wait a minute, what y'all been cooking? It smells good in here too. And they're giving each other them looks, and they're like, "Do you want some?" I was like, "What is it?" Because I'm such a picky eater, and they always couldn't stand that about me, and I always wanted to know what it was before I would eat it. You got to
Hmm.
tell me what it is. They're like, it tasted, so I bit his. I was like, "Oh man, that is awesome! I want my own."
Hmm.
And they were like, "Go ahead, go in the bathroom," because I was headed towards the bathroom. It'll be ready for you when you come out. I come out, I sit down, I eat the sandwich, and then they tell me after I done got halfway through it, cow tongue. I I just kept on eating it. I done already ate it now. It's but but I'm told you will never tell a lie after that. I've lied since then, but I'm told that you will never tell a lie again.
Right. All right. Well, like I said, I'm probably gonna watch football the rest of the day. You can catch me here again on Wednesday for AAA Podcast Sports. Um, I don't know exactly what the topic is going to be. More than likely, it's going to be about the Super Bowl and what teams are going to go to. Matter of fact, I can say for sure, it's going to be about the Super Bowl because we're going to find out who's going to the Super Bowl today. My guess would be the Chiefs and the Eagles. I think that's what the game is going to be. We'll know next week. If not, catch me back here next week, 11:45, 12 p.m. I don't know exactly what the title is going to be. It's going to be something
Fly,
religious based for
Eagles,
sure.
fly.
I think the Eagles going to win. They playing the Commanders. They should win. The Commanders have a
No,
rookie
say it
quarterback.
ain't so. That would make my cousins way too happy. I couldn't. I can't allow it. I can't allow it. It can't
I mean,
happen. It can't
you got
happen.
you got to be realistic. The Redskins, Commanders, they got a rookie quarterback.
What's the odds at the betting house? What's the odds at the betting house?
The Eagles gonna win by like a
Oh
touchdown or more.
no. No, no, we can't let that one go down. We can't have nobody getting rich off of this bet. Nope, nope, nope,
So,
nope, nope. I might
I
have to
mean,
come out of football retirement for this one.
if you were to put about 10, $20 on the Redskins and they make that, I mean, Commanders and they make that cover, you could get paid. You can get paid. But that's it. If
If
they
only
come
I
about,
had, you know what? Maybe if I go live on TikTok, I can make $10 or $20 by the time the Super Bowl covers need to be.
you could for sure. You got plenty of time. You got at least 3 weeks from right now.
I got 3 weeks to come up with betting money, huh? I can do
Hmm.
that. I can do that. I can do that. I'm putting it.
Hmm.
Let's see who it's going to be. Let's see who it's going to be. Let's see who it's going to be, and then I'll worry about
Exactly. Thank you again, NJ, for stopping by. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Queen. Thank you, everybody, for coming by. Again, I'll be back here around noon next week. I'm about to cut the music on. Thank y'all for stopping by. Have a good day, good evening, and the rest of your weekend.